one water race is not possible unless you have an extreme endurance. You could run and swim for more than 48 hours without sleep and be able to show the ultimate proof of human capacity.
One of the toughest races in the world.
Not all teams will cross the finish line in this race.
I could push through anything for my teammates.
It is an experiment because no one knows what's going to happen.
$250 k's of distance, 30,000 islands, 200 k's of running, 50 k's of swimming, navigation and orienteering as another dimension, not least in the darkness. In my vision of creating the ultimate proof of human capacity, it's really important to know where the limits are. How far can we stretch it? This is about science, what is actually possible to do for the human body, and how can I and the race handle that development.
I'm not quitting.
Nobody's quitting. I want you to drink a little more of that. We're going to get some food in you.
That's why I reach out to the university, GIH in Stockholm, the top level scientific environment for sports and health, in helping me in the dialogue of what is possible. How far can I stretch the race?
Well, most bodies can't handle it. And what is fascinating and intriguing for me is to find out what's unique with these athletes. Why can they actually complete one water race? They have been competing in long-term extreme endurance events for a very long time. So you have to have those years of experience that builds your stamina and endurance to be able to cope with this. So when it comes to the running, the athletes have to go through a very varying terrain. It's uphill, it's downhill, it's slippery. So it's a huge strain on your muscle that actually breaks them down, and they have to be able to tolerate that. If completing more than 5 marathons, let's say in the streets of New York where it's very flat, that's so much easier than the environment they're exposed to now with the varying terrain.
It's brutal, the terrain that you're running through. This is running a marathon in some of the toughest terrain in the world.
One thing about the terrain that was really tough for me in particular was the entry and exit points. You know, the rocks are slippery, they're very, not much grip, no cracks. It's very slippery, particularly in the dark and when you're wet.
Well, it's a long way to jump from there because there's a rock over there.
Yeah.
All right, that's almost ready. 3. Yep.
During the race, it's going to be at least 50K of swimming. That will make you cold, it's going to be a mental challenge, and it could also make you seasick.
That second night we had that really long swim, and after that the swims definitely became less enjoyable. I think my shoulders had blown up a little bit and had been walking a bit sort of unsteady for a while, but just assumed that that was just the race taking its toll. And so it wasn't until I actually threw up that it finally clicked.
I think I'm just seasick.
Oh yeah, it could be hard.
Yeah.
So when you become seasick, that's a major disrupting of your balance system that creates major nausea.
When you're in a race and you get seasick, I've had to throw up before because I get quite nauseous when I get seasick, and then you just got to keep going. Usually you do feel a bit of relief when that happens, but you can't stop. You have to just press on.
And that does not stop once you get on the ground. It takes quite a while to become adapted. It can persist for quite a long time.
What about warm water?
I usually have to take some anti-nausea medication beforehand because that's definitely not something fun to have to race with.
Oh, give me the anti-nausea one.
I can't wake up.
sleep deprivation, I think, is one of the most major challenges for these athletes.
Oh my gosh, can I lie down for 5 minutes? Yeah, I can go to the bathroom.
There are a lot of things that happen during sleep deprivations with your brain or your cognitive function. First of all, you get sleepy, then tells you, all right, I want to stop, I just want to lay down and have a nice warm sleep. Also, your ability to move becomes hampered. So you're not as agile. You don't move your muscles that fast.
Can you decipher anything else?
So be able to focus on the terrain, looking at sort of slippery rocks, being mentally focused becomes a very key factor, especially for hurting yourself and not going in the wrong direction.
Just lie down. No, lie down.
When you're really tired, you can start getting sleep monsters, which is where you're actually seeing things in the terrain that don't really exist.
For me, I start seeing bridges, I start hearing things, and you start seeing things in your mind that aren't there.
Yeah, a lot of things can happen actually with your mind. So you start hallucinating, and that has a major negative outcome on your performance, of course.
At one water race, we are passing more than 100 islands. And when you're swimming, you get rather cold, and when you're on land, the body temperature is very warm. And shifting between cold and warm in the body is very tough for the body. And I think that is one of the things that is very challenging with one water race.
During the race, if the conditions are really cold, which they can be in August in the Stockholm Archipelago, then hypothermia is a clear risk.
Being cold just absolutely saps the energy out of the body.
So the temperature in your body is normally about 37 degrees Celsius. And when that drops below 35 degrees Celsius, you're classified as hypothermic. And what happens is that you start to shiver, you become very cold, your muscles function worse, so it hampers your performance and your drive to continue.
Into this town. Oh my God.
If the body temperature drops even further, maybe down to 30 degrees Celsius, that could be quite dangerous.
I know that I suffer from the cold, but I can handle it. It's painful, but it's a fact, it's there, and I know as long as I keep eating, keep running when I'm up on land, I will get warm again.
Hot chocolate.
Any food? Do you have any food, Melissa?
If you're too cold, and if you stop exercising, then you will stop to produce your own heat. That will further worsen the hypothermia. So being active, getting heated food, staying awake, that's a key.
Yeah, I think it's very easy to see that if the weather gets bad and the water's cold, there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to struggle to finish this race.
My legs are like stiff as crazy. But they're cold. Ooh, that's true suffering right there.
I think all the adventure racers that are flying in here to do one water race, the common thread is that people want to push their bodies to the absolute limit and see what is possible.
Oh man, you at least get another 30 hours of this, baby. The trophy is another 24 hours of torture. Yeah.
I think as human beings, we are all searching for thrills, confirmation, challenges, rewards. I would say most people get rewards from food, love, drugs maybe, but this challenge has turned into drugs for the athletes, I believe.
When I push my body to the limits and I find myself somehow digging deeper than I've ever dug before, I get this rush, I guess, and it's addictive.
The most I would want out of this is to push myself to a limit that I didn't even know existed. And I think through that, I'll find new things, new levels about myself that I didn't even know exist.
Although it might be, for most of us, kind of hard to understand, why would I choose the pain, the cold, the suffering, instead of sitting home drinking a glass of wine as a reward? It's hard to understand for most of us, but I think for these athletes, it makes total sense.
It definitely releases a lot of dopamine, a lot of positive energy, but it also puts you in a situation where you have to overcome. And when you show up on the other side of that, you can always take something away from that. Whether you do it perfect or not, when you get to the other side, you can live with that for the rest of your life.
So many people tell me I'm crazy for pushing myself like that, but it's what I'm good at. And I can't think of doing anything else with my life.